Good morning. Till now we have seen different types of migration, where people are moving to different places, right? So when people are moving to different places, so there will be overpopulation, right? We have seen that in urbanization, in case of slums and all, we have seen that overpopulation will also be there. So sometimes it is very natural that there are some disasters being caused. These disasters are also being caused because of natural reasons, and some disasters are also being caused because of human factors, right? Disasters means something which are out of our control. Sometimes we cannot control these disasters, right? Something which is out of our control, that is only known as a disaster, right? For example, an earthquake. We cannot control an earthquake, right? What we can do is we can just take some measures that we can be safe from an earthquake. Can we control an earthquake? Obviously we cannot, right? So these are some of the disasters what we are facing today, right? So today's topic is natural and man-made disasters. Now when we are talking about disasters, the first one we are talking is what? Natural disasters. Natural disasters means what we cannot stop, what cannot be stopped by man, or what cannot be caused by man. Example is earthquake, a flood, a volcanic eruption, a forest fire. All these are examples of natural disasters, right? It is not under the control of man. Clear? Next one is man-made disasters. What we are making for ourselves. What we are making for ourselves. What we are not doing good for ourselves. That is a man-made disaster. For example, atomic bomb, a nuclear bomb. All these are examples of man-made disasters, right? Most of the time, we build very big dams in the mountainous regions, and when the dam is collapsing, all the water will be flooding. So this flooding is not natural flooding. This flooding comes out of a dam which is built in an improper place. So is this natural calamity, or is this natural disaster? Obviously it is not a natural disaster, it is a man-made disaster. Building a dam in an improper place, right? So these are some of the natural and man-made disasters. As said before, disasters cannot be stopped, but there are some precautions which can be taken to reduce a disaster. Okay, there are some precautions which can be taken to reduce a disaster. Suppose an earthquake is coming nowadays, what people are doing for every apartment or for every very big building, they're keeping earthquake monitors, right? So whenever it is probable to have an earthquake, then we can know it, so that we can evacuate the building, right? Like this, and in places like floods and all, we can know where floods can be caused at what point of time, so that we can be evacuating. So that is how we can take some precautions. We cannot totally avoid. Some sudden disasters will be there, like volcanic reaction or sudden earthquakes, very big earthquakes. Japan is all the time, it is of earthquakes, right? That is why people build the houses with the with the help of wood, right? So like that, very small precautions we can take, and we can reduce the risk of a natural disaster. Man-made disaster we are creating for ourselves, so there is no answer for it. Now coming to disaster management. This disaster management is reducing the risk of disaster. There will be agencies who are taking care of reducing the risk of disaster management. What is the need for disaster management? Disaster management, we definitely need it because people have to be, the risk of lives of people should be reduced, right? They have to be educated about disasters. When they are educated about disasters, it will be easy for the people to save their lives, right? So these are phases of disaster management: mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. The first stage of disaster management, the first phase of disaster management is mitigation. Mitigation means knowing what is the type of disaster. In mitigation, we see that the effects of disaster are reduced. All the people are moved into different zones. So vulnerability access is there for people. Second one is preparedness. So this preparedness means understanding when a disaster, when a disaster is coming, how we are going to see to that disaster, how we are going to react to that disaster. So that is preparedness. How well we are, sometimes mock drills will be given for army people. If at all a disaster is coming, how you are going to save the people. So that is preparedness. All the time you have to be prepared. That is prepared. Response. Suddenly a disaster is coming. How will you save yourself? That is response. We do not know when earthquakes will be occurring. We do not know when volcanic eruptions will be occurring. Okay, here may not be volcanic eruptions are occurring, but we do not know whether earthquakes will be occurring or not. So if at all a earthquake is occurring, how to save ourselves? So all that will be given in preparedness phase, right? And response phase, we have to save ourselves in the response phase. In recovery phase, if at all it has occurred, if at all any disaster has occurred, then how will you respond? See, sometimes we see so many people helping, voluntary organizations and all, helping the other people in case of floods and all, in case of cyclones and all. They'll be taking up all the trees and they'll be helping the other people. They'll be giving food packets. They'll be, if at all there is a lot of water, they'll be they'll be saving all the people. So that is how is recovery, right? That is how is they are recovering themselves, right? They're keeping all the people in a safe place. So all that comes under the recovery phase. So the first one what we are going to discuss is a flood. Flood is a abnormal rise in water because of so many things. It may be because of a cyclone, it may be because of heavy rains, or it may be because of tsunami. Anything, floods are caused. Abnormal rise in water. In India, more than 40 million acres of land are prone to flood. So this is a report which is given by the National Flood Commission. Okay. So what we are going to do when floods are occurring, 4 phases we are going to see now. Before a flood occurs, when the flood is going to occur very soon, when the flood is occurring, and after a flood. During a flood, what we are going to do, and after a flood, what we are going to take. So before a flood, if we are in a flood prone area, we have to build our houses little higher than the normal area. right? We have to build our houses a little higher because the flood may not enter our house, right? That is the first point. We have to construct barriers to stop the flood water entering into the houses. Then we have to continuously listen to the radio or TV, any media, to know about the flood. Then we have to know the difference between flood watch and flood warning. Suddenly, if the flood is going to come, then that is known as flood warning, right? That is known as flood warning. So we have to keep an eye on the media so that they will be continuously warning us. So this is before a flood. Now what we are going, if a flood is going to come, okay, suddenly they have declared that it's going to be a flood. What we are going to do? First we have to evacuate our place. We have to take all the necessary belongings only. Suppose old people are there, what will they take? They'll be taking their medicines, they'll be taking their food and all necessary food. Then they'll be going out. Children are there, very small children are there, they have to take their food. So that is very much necessary. So only necessary things they have to carry with them. Few clothes and all, if you want you can carry. I mean, if the people want, they can carry. If they can carry only, they have to carry. Otherwise they should not take the risk of carrying luggage, right? Because they do not know where they will be during the flood. Then we have to disconnect. First thing, we have to disconnect all the electric switches. We have to pull off it from the main switch. Then if possible, we have to put what all very necessary things. If at all we can put it to the higher floor, then we can put it to the higher floor, right? What should we do during a flood? First thing, we should not go out. If at all necessary only, then only we have to go out. If at all we have to go out, we have to walk taking a stick, because many electric wires, they will be cut off and they will be in water. So there may be a chance of current shock and all. So what we have to do, first we have to take a stick, then we have to go through water, right? And we should not drive in the flooded areas, because we do not know where gaps will be, where the depressions will be. So we do not know, and it's not advisable even to walk when water is flowing, right? When water is flowing, it's not even advisable to walk in those areas where when water is stagnant. At least we'll know here water is stagnant because it will be going into the drains and all. So then it's okay. But when water is flowing, we do not even know where the water is going. So it's not advisable to. Now what should we do after a flood? After a flood, compulsorily we have to listen to the media, what it will be saying about the news of the flood. Then we have to be in a safe area. We have to be in a safe area till the government will be giving instructions what next, right? And it's safe not to go on roads, because till the water is receded, we do not know which road will be how. So it's better to stay back at home, right? And while drinking water, it's very much better to boil the water and drink, right? Because all the flood water will be contaminated and it will be mixed with the fresh water. So it's better to boil the water and drink, right? So these are the precautions what we have to take after a flood. The next disaster what we are going to see is a earthquake. Sudden trembling of the earth. Sudden trembling or shaking of the earth is known as a earthquake, So when the rock masses, they fall down and they create a lot of havoc, then it is termed as a earthquake. So what are the precautions what we have to take in case of a earthquake? And because all the time earthquake depend upon the fault lines, if you remember plate tectonics, all the time earthquakes depends upon fault line, their intensity all the time depend upon the distance from the plate tectonics, the fault lines or the plate tectonics. The more the place is distant, the less the intensity, right? So obviously if we are indoors, we have to see that we are placed under a table, we are going under a table, and we are never near the windows or chimneys, right? We are never near the windows or chimneys. That is one precaution what we have to take if we are indoors during a earthquake. And if we are outdoors, we have to see that we are not entering, we are not under any trees, or we are not under any wires or anything, and we are not entering any damaged buildings, old buildings or damaged buildings, because they are prone to collapsing, fast collapsation. And if we are driving, we have to at a time stop driving and we have to stay inside the vehicle safely, right? So what we can do in case of an earthquake? We should put off all the gas, we should put off all the domestic fires, any heaters if any, and most importantly we should see that all the electric wires are not put on until the government says it is safe to come back to your place. It's better to be in the evacuated place only. And next one what we are going to see is fire. Fire is useful for many purposes, but once fire is caused, a fire accident is caused, it destroys a lot, right? 60% of the fire accidents are caused because of overheating and short circuits, use of non-standard appliances, and illegal tapping of wires. We see this a most common thing, right? Use of non-standard appliances. The government will be giving a ISI symbol, ISI mark, but still people, because they get some wires for cheap, they bring off those wires and they use it, right? So because of this non-standard appliances, most of the times fire accidents are being caused. Illegal tapping from the poles and all, some people they draw the current, right? So that is illegal tapping. Because of this also fire accidents are caused. Overloading, that causes overloading on the pole. So sometimes we see a very big sound from the pole. So what causes that is overloading of the power. What should we do in case of a fire? First thing what should we do is evacuate the place. We cannot be there, right? So we have to evacuate the place. Second thing what we have to do is, when we are evacuating, we have to see that all the doors are open, because the fire has to go out. And the next thing is, if there is a lot of smoke, instead of putting your head up, we have to see that we are putting our head down instead of stopping that inhalation, right? So when we are putting our head down, we stop inhaling, we reduce our inhalation, so that smoke will not go into our lungs. So what we can do to stop these fire accidents? First thing we have to do is, we have to see that we are using only ISI certified appliances only, right? We are using only ISI certified appliances, right? So which is given by the Indian Standard Institute, right? Then if at all we are using this, then we are not going for cheaper goods, right? And we are going for good MCBs, right? When we are going for good MCBs, it will see that it is not giving out, it's not seeing, it will not give out this short circuits and all, right? So when we are using a good MCB or electrical leakage circuit breaker, so it will see, they will be stopping the short circuits, right? Switch off the electricity. If at all area is affected with fire, we have to switch off electricity in that area. Then if at all plugs, these plugs will be there, no plugs are broken, then we have to replace those plugs. So all these are small care what we have to take to stop fire accidents. What we should not do, we should not use wires which are not having ISI marks, right? ISI brand which is not having, then we should see that a place is not overloaded with power. We should see that the children are not playing firecrackers near the electricity boards and all. And we should see that if at all the wires are laid under the carpets, they are properly checked out, right? So these are some don'ts. Now let's see the role of government in disaster management. The government, from the central government level till the state government, next district governments, next till the sub levels, it keeps on supporting the places wherever it is affected with floods or whatever disasters it is. So how it is extending its support means, financially it will be supporting, and still it wants any other help, logistical help, like food and other help, other needs people are in, then also the central government will be supporting it. And then who are the agencies who are supporting it means, the Ministry of Home Affairs. This is the official body. The Ministry of Home Affairs, it will be seeing to how much amount should be given to a flood affected or disaster affected place, right? The Ministry of Home Affairs, it will be seeing to the amount of problem, then it will be giving the amount, right, how much it is affected, and then it will be sanctioning the amount. Then this National Disaster Management Authority, this is the nodal agency, official nodal agency, which sees to all the affected places, disaster management, disaster affected places, right? And moreover, NDMA also lays down the policies, how it should be treated, how the places should be treated, and policies and plans and all, like what we have seen in phases of disaster management. So all these policies and plans will be laid down by the NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority. In the district level, the district collector, the deputy commissioner, all these people are responsible for the disaster management. So these people will be seeing to the implementation of all the plans which are laid by the NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority. With the help of whom? With the help of all the NCC cadets and all NSS cadets and all voluntary organizations. So with the help of all these people, the district collector, deputy commissioner, all these people will be implementing the plans of the central government. So now let us see to the case studies. The first case study what we are seeing is regarding the floods in Assam and Bihar. So every year Assam and Bihar are affected with floods. Assam is in the northeastern part of the country, and little left to it is Bihar. Brahmaputra and Barak. Brahmaputra is the very big river which is flowing through Assam. So this will be affecting Assam very badly every year, right? So Kosi, which is one of the tributary of river Ganga, is known as sorrow of Bihar. So every year when Ganga is having floods, Bihar is also affected very badly. Not only Brahmaputra, Barak is there, Son is there, Kosi is there, Gandak is there. All these rivers, they affect the places of Assam and Bihar. And why this happens is because the rivers, they change their course every year. The rivers, they change their course, they keep on changing their direction every year. And mostly what is happening is sediments are dropped out. Sediments are dropped. When the sediments are dropped, there will be a sudden rise in the river. When the sediments are dropped, there will be a sudden rise in the river which leads to floods in that place, right? And mostly in these areas of Assam and Bihar, you have a lot of rainfall in 3 months. Normally the monsoon period is for 3 months, and in those 3 months you have a lot of rainfall. That rainfall also increases the flood. Because of this rainfall also, most of these areas are prone to flood. And not only these, because of increasing population, because of faulty methods of planning, faulty methods of building the building the houses and all, because of faulty methods of building the houses, all these are some of the reasons which are responsible for floods in these regions of Assam and Bihar. And what could be the effects of floods in Assam and Bihar? The first effect of flood is death of people. Not only people, death of livestock, animals, right? So it causes a lot of death, so many deaths, right? Causes so many deaths. Not only deaths, soil erosion, degradation of soil erosion and soil degradation. So fertility of soil is totally lost in these areas, right? Fertility of soil, when the top layer is gone, the fertility of soil is totally lost. Not only this, most of the times the irrigation channels are blocked. The irrigation channels, canals and all will be there, no? So these irrigation channels, when they are blocked, it causes a problem to agricultural people, farmers and all. They have a lot of problem with this canal irrigation and all. So that is one more problem. And most of the times when floods are caused, it is a problem for the wild animals also, which are living in the zoos and all. So that is also a very big problem, right? They lose their inhabitat, which are living in the forests also, they lose their inhabitat, right? So that is also a very big problem in case of floods. Every year we see loss of food, loss of water, in contamination of water. So people will be suffering a lot with all these problems in case of floods. Second one is earthquake in Nepal. Earthquakes normally occur in fault plains or where you have crustal instability. So Nepal is a place where you have mountains. So mountains are places where you have crustal instability. So on this date, 25th April 2015, we had a series of earthquakes. We had not one earthquake, we had a series of earthquakes, 6, 7, 8 earthquakes at a time. The 7th and 8th were small earthquakes of smaller magnitude, but till 6, the first 6 earthquakes were larger earthquakes. I mean the earthquakes with larger magnitude, the largest one being 7.8 on the Richter scale. The largest one being 7.8 on the Richter scale. So lot of destruction was caused. Lot of destruction was caused in Nepal. And Nepal, most of the people, they depend on tourism. So that tourism was totally destroyed. Tourism was totally destroyed. Most of the monuments, most of the temples and all, one big clock tower, everything was destroyed in Nepal, right? The roads were cracked. Lot of very big cracks appeared on the roads, right? So all this happened because of earthquake which was caused in Nepal. It was believed that in the survey that more than 1 lakh people they were injured, and more than 50 million houses they were damaged, and more than 8,000 people, 8 to 10,000 people, they were killed in this earthquake, right? More than 8 to 10,000 people, they were killed in this earthquake. Lot of population loss and lot of animal loss was happened during this earthquake, right? There was a loss in crops. There was a loss in crops because most of the people, they depended on their own crops. They don't raise a crop just like commercial farming. They raise their own crop. So most of the crops, they came down till the Shivaliks. So it happened like that. Then most animals also died. Most animals also died in this earthquake, and there were less storage facilities. There were less storage facilities also. There were almost no storage facilities for the people living in Nepal. Forest areas were affected, and water was very badly affected. So so many people had water related diseases. Then schools were affected, hospitals were affected. So these are some of the places where Nepal's earthquake had affected. And because of earthquakes, even soil erosion also took place. Soil erosion and the degradation of soil also took place in Nepal. So these are the effects of Nepal, and let's move on to case 3. So case study 3 is oil spill in USA. Oil spills means release of hydrocarbons, release of liquid petroleum hydrocarbons into the environment, mostly the marine areas. So normally oil spills occur when this liquid petroleum, it passes through water pipes or water when it is taken through water. So like this oil spills, they occur. In March 1989, a worst liquid spill has occurred in USA. 11 million gallons, approximately 260,000 barrels of oil, it has spilled into the sea. It has spilled into the ocean, right? So that was the worst oil spill in USA. And almost it spread about 900 miles along the coastline. And if you want the oil to be evaporated fastly, we cannot just even put a matchstick, because oil, it will be coming up like for fire. for fire it will be coming out, but the animals inside, the marine animals inside, they'll be dying for heat. So we cannot do that. It can be removed only through chemical processes. It can be removed only through chemical process. So that is the worst thing. This much amount of oil, if it has to be taken through a chemical process, it takes time, right? So in this time only, we have seen a lot of death of animals, like bears have been dead, so many whales have been dead, penguins have been dead. So it led to death of so many marine animals, and even otters were dead. We do not know how many animals were dead, even because so many animals were not even found, right? Some birds, some seabirds, they were unable to fly because most of the oil was it was stuck onto the wings of the animals. It was stick onto the wings of the animals, so it was unable to fly, right? And a lot of sea was polluted, lot of plankton was dead. Lot of plankton was dead. It is the food for lot of fish. Plankton is a food for lot of fish. For that only fish will be coming there, right? So lot of plankton was dead because of the pollution which was caused by the oil. So cleaning of oil spills is very, very expensive. What at most we can do to stop this oil spills is, we can just take up a public transport. That's it. We can just take up a public transport instead of using one-to-one transport. We can just use 100-to-1 or at least 10-to-1 transport. We can just use it. So let's use public transport, right? So in this lesson we have seen what are the types of disasters, who is responsible for a disaster, and who is stopping a disaster. I mean, who is at least helping the people to stop a disaster. What are the phases in disaster management? And we have seen 3 cases of different types of disaster. We have seen 3 different types of disaster and what we can do to stop those disasters. And thank you.